Okay. Hi, everyone. Like I said, it's great to see all of you. I got to see some of you this week come in for Advocate Appreciation, and we really appreciate that. If you weren't able to stop in, we do have something here for you. So just let us know when you might be coming to the office. We are typically here Monday through Friday from 9 to 4, but we are closed this Friday for the holiday weekend. So just let us know. All right. So as Sherry had said, we're here today to talk about heading back to court. So the CASA staff met with Judge Harmon, and he gave us the green light to allow CASAs back into the courtroom for their hearings. Some of you have been doing this for a while, and some of you this will be totally new. We wanted to let you know attending court is going to be optional. We attend court in McHenry County on Thursday and Friday mornings. Those are when the hearings are typically held. They are there. If you attend, it will be in person. And hearings start at 10 a.m. and can run as late as 12:30. The staff will be present, and if you cannot attend, and we'll let you know what goes on as we have been doing. We would reach out to you after the hearing and let you know, and also put our notes in Optima. We are making this optional only because the court calls these days are very long, and the hearing time, although all the hearings are to start at 10 a.m., that doesn't mean that they do. They run through the morning, and so you could be sitting there for a little while. So I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie, who's kind of walk you through the whole process once you get to the courthouse and kind of how that works with the hearing started.
All right, thank you, Kelly. And hi, everyone. And like Kelly said, it's nice to see you all. I am going to walk us through what happens once you arrive at the courthouse. So if you take Route 47 to get to the courthouse, you should see the main entrance with a big parking lot in front. That's where you're going to park and enter the building. Once you parked, we ask that you send your advocate manager a text to let them know that you're there. Even if your advocate manager is not present at court that day, we'll make sure to let staff in the building know that you're there. We want to know to be on the lookout for you in case your case is called and you don't hear it. So please be aware that staff might already also be in the courtroom by the time you arrive. So you might not see us in the hallway, but we are there. Once you've let staff know that you're present, you'll enter through the main entrance to go through first floor security. It's right when you walk in, so you can't miss it. There's a few things to keep in mind while going through security, though. One of those things being to bring as little as possible in with you. They don't always let bags or purses, that sort of thing through, and they might not allow big electronics like a laptop in. We know that some of you might want to work while you're waiting for your case to be called because, like Kelly said, you could be waiting for quite some time, but we just can't guarantee what security is going to allow inside. Try not to bring too much with you. Like I said, don't bring in liquids or beverages. They'll make you either put it back in your car or throw it away. Be sure to wear business attire. So that means no jeans, no flip-flops, no rips, that sort of thing. Once you've made it through security, you're going to go to the left all the way down the hallway to the last courtroom. It's courtroom 101, which is our juvenile courtroom. You're going to want to make sure to check in with the bailiff once you're there. You should tell him the child's last name for your case and that you are the CASA. If you don't see the bailiff out in the hallway, please don't enter the courtroom to check in. You're just going to need to wait for another time to check in with him. While you are waiting for your case to be called, there are kind of two options of what you can do. One option is to wait in our CASA office. So to the left of the courtroom, there's a whole string of offices. Our office is the last one in that string to the left, like I said. And then the other option is also to wait out in the hallway. A number of people from your case could be waiting in the hallway with you. So there could be some prolonged interactions between you and either the caseworker, foster parents, natural parents, or even the child if they're present. You don't have to stand with them the whole time while you're waiting. If you don't want to, it's okay to step away and give them a bit of space. Another thing to note is the hallway could be a bit crowded and loud. So it's possible you might hear other cases being discussed around you, whether the conversation is between a caseworker or natural parent, foster parent and CASA, etc. So just please respect the confidentiality of that case or of that family and don't share the things that you hear while you wait with others. We really expect you to maintain the same level of confidentiality as you do for your own case. Another thing to remember is that you could be waiting for quite a while, again, like Kelly said, for your case to be called, but you may enter the courtroom once the bailiff calls out the name of your case. He'll typically walk into the hallway calling out the last name of the child. If you don't hear the case name being called, staff will do their best to grab you and bring you into the courtroom so you don't miss anything. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Kelly, and she's going to explain what happens once you're in the courtroom.
Okay, great. So as Stephanie said, what you'll be doing is while you're waiting for your case to be heard, the bailiff will come out and use the child's last name and say, Smith, case is being heard now. That is your cue to come on into the courtroom. Then you will join the staff and sit in the back row with us in the courtroom so that you can sit next to one of the advocate managers that might be present that day. So if you have any questions, you can talk with them. But you will see that in the courtroom, there's a big table, and around that table will be the state's attorney, the guardian ad litem, and the attorneys present for both mom and dad. And then the caseworker will also be present in the room. And up on the podium will be the judge who oversees everything with the clerk sitting next to him. For those of you who have been in court before, you will recall it moves fairly quickly. So there will be a lot of moving around parts and they might be talking about things. So if you don't maybe understand what's going on, you can write it down or we can talk about it later after court. But while we're in the courtroom, we will be listening and the staff will be taking court notes. And those court notes are what we put in Optima for everyone. So we will be doing that while we're in the courtroom. Sometimes you'll hear in some of the cases, they will say, oh, we're going to have a 402 or a pre-trial hearing. This means that if there's something going on in your case that an attorney or a GAL or a caseworker might want to address before the judge hears the case in front of the family, they will go in this back room right behind the courtroom and have a pretrial hearing known as a 402. We will be the discretion of the staff if we feel like the CASA should be present or not. But staff will typically, one of the staff members will go back there. But if we feel like the CASA has been on the case for a while and can really contribute to the discussion of what they're talking about, we will certainly invite you back there to do that. You will also see in the courtroom, there is a door to the right of where you'll be sitting, and that is a door that leads to the McHenry County Jail. So some of our parents might be incarcerated, and if that's the case, they are brought to the courtroom from the jail. They'll come in and you will see a bailiff or an officer who will stand next to them or behind them. Once the case is heard, then the individual is then returned to the jail through that door. So I just want to make you aware of some of the moving parts that might be taking place depending on how your case is going. So as I had mentioned, during the hearing, staff is busy taking notes, so we won't be able to talk to you at that time, but we are happy to talk to you that afternoon, or if you want to text or call us, we will always touch base and be there to answer any questions that go on. It's just a very quick process once we're in the courtroom. So we just want to make you aware that once the hearing is completed, the judge will then move to the next case. So that is your time that you are free to leave and exit the courtroom, and then you can head on out of the courthouse. So, and then after that, you are welcome to come home, and we would greatly appreciate it if you put in Optima that you attended court that morning. And if you had any discussions with any of the parties on your case, you're welcome to put those notes in Optima as kind of a reflection of what was discussed, so we have them for future reference. I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie, and she's going to talk a little bit about Optima and some of those key elements that we would love for you to fill out.
Yes, so on the topic of Optima, we wanted to talk a little bit about court reports and finding due dates and your next hearing date. So I would recommend checking for your next hearing date as well as the due date for your court report after you enter contact logs. So whether that's after court and hour notes have been entered or each time that you go in to Optima to enter your own contact logs. You can find that information under the hearings tab, excuse me, at the bottom. This will allow you ample time to prepare your court report and get it submitted by the due date, which is set typically about 2 weeks before your hearing. As the judge is appointing us to more cases with the recent law change, it's becoming more and more important for advocates to submit reports in a timely manner. So oftentimes we're editing a number of reports for the week. So it's very difficult if we get a report, say the Friday night before your case or Monday morning. It really will limit our ability to include you in the editing process, which we would like to be able to do. We strongly encourage you to submit your draft as soon as you can, unless you have spoken with your advocate manager. Your court report, as a reminder, goes to all parties on the case. So that means it's going to go to the judge, the assistant state's attorneys, the GAL, the parents' attorneys, and the caseworker. Some of those individuals will never have the opportunity to meet the child or to really get to know them and their needs the way that you do, which is why your reports are so crucial. So we want to get as many submitted as we can, like I said, in a timely manner. Before you submit your court report, though, to your advocate manager, take a look at the sample good report on our website. If you're not familiar with it, haven't really looked at our website, it's just CASAmcHenryCounty.org. Look for the tab that says Advocate Resources and then select Learning Center from the drop-down menu. Once you're on that page, you can scroll down to the section labeled Reporting Standards, and you'll see a list of documents and a recording of us talking about the new court reporting standards. And you can open up the sample good report document specifically to take a look at it. It should give you a number of helpful examples on how to structure your sentences in the proper format. It might give you some ideas of what to include in your summary or how to format the contacted party section correctly. So it's a good idea to really take a look at that before you submit your report. I also want to mention that we fully understand that whether you're a veteran advocate or a new advocate, there is a learning curve to court report writing. We don't expect perfection from you, but it will be incredibly helpful to your advocate manager if you do your best to follow that format that's laid out in the sample report. If though you're struggling to write your report, please reach out to us as soon as possible. The more time that we have to help, the better. And we are always here to help you in whatever way we can. You just have to let us know what you need from us. I'd say the same is true just in general for your case, whether things are going well or there are concerns about your case. We can't do anything to support you if we don't hear from you. So please make sure you're checking in with your advocate manager on a regular basis. Like I said, we're here to support you in any way we can, but we can't do that if we don't know what's happening. So try to check in with updates at least once a month, if not more. In fact, more is usually better. We don't mind hearing from you multiple times a month. Just let us know what's going on. Even if it's just a simple text saying that everything's going well, that your CASA kid's behavior is improving, or maybe they're doing well in school, we want to hear that stuff. We want to hear the good and the bad. So just let us know. And just as a final piece, as one of Sherry's recent newsletters said, please don't just ghost us or disappear on us. Let us know what's going on and we'll figure it out together.
That's great. So as Stephanie was talking about the court reports and Optima, that leads us to making sure that you are putting all your contact logs in for us. That's another very helpful way for us to stay connected with all of you. If for some reason we can't get on the phone with you or are not able to touch base, it's really helpful if you just send a quick text or email to your advocate manager and say, hey, I put some notes in Optima. And then that way we can hear what's going on. That's very helpful. Those notes in Optima are not only critical for us as advocate managers to hear what's going on with all of you in your case, but we do use that information for our grant purposes to know how many hours our advocates are putting in and how many miles you're traveling. So that's very important for grants that we apply to for funding here at CASA. We also want to just do a gentle reminder of continuing education. We've already gone through the first 3 months of the year. We do ask that you complete 12 in this calendar year. So if you haven't had a chance to get started, now is a great time. Sherry does a wonderful job of putting in the newsletters the different resources for you to get continuing education, as well as on our website. There are links to Illinois CASA and National CASA that have a number of webinars that you can hop on at your convenience and listen to at various topics that you might find very beneficial, and you can gain continuing ed that way as well. That is on, as Stephanie said, that is on our website under the Learning Center tab as well. You'll find a lot of resources there for you as advocates. So one other thing before I leave, or I take a moment to take questions, is I wanted to introduce our new staff member as well. Erin is down there. Erin, if you want to wave to everyone. Erin has joined us just last week, and she is going to be one of our new advocate managers here on staff. So there will now be Stephanie, myself, and Erin, and Sherry as well. So we're all here for you guys.
Hey, Erin, can you go ahead and introduce yourself so that you show up on the recording for the webinar?
Hi, my name is Erin, and I am happy to join the team.
Great. So at this time, we're going to take any questions that you might have. If you put them in the chat box, Sherry will let us know. Or if you want to raise your hand, we can go to you and you can unmute, and we can take any questions you might have about court or Optima or report writing. We're here to help answer any of that for you. Okay, Bob.
Do the parents get look at these reports too?
No, the parents do not look at the reports. Their attorneys do, but the parents do not.
So if you say something that's not very flattering, you don't have to worry about it.
Well, it's not to say that their attorney might not question them about it, but they're not going to be shown the report.
And but they could say, hey, did you know your CASA said this about you? They could say that though, right?
It could come up, yes, potentially. But often it comes up and just, hey, I read this in a report. What's going on?
Okay.
Diane has a question.
Well, actually, I have a comment. Having submitted reports over several cases, attorneys do share the reports with clients. And sometimes that does impact your relationship with the client. You just need to be clear that you don't make any recommendations, that you just report what you see if they ask you questions. What's more problematic is sometimes the caseworker will share negative comments with the foster parents if the foster parents aren't doing things they're supposed to do. And sometimes that will impact your relationship with the foster parents, and they may not be happy with you for a while, but they're not supposed to do that, but sometimes it happens. It just depends on the caseworker. So, and if you have problems in the past, I go to my supervisor, and the supervisor talks to the caseworker, and sometimes they have to work it out. Sometimes we have kids in other jurisdictions, because I've had kids in like Lake County, and Lake County CASAs do give recommendations. And that's very confusing to foster parents, where they don't really know exactly how the court is treating any report that a CASA gives. So sometimes there needs to be clarification.
Thank you, Diane. I do have a question about how to put in the contact log. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I have the training database up. So it's not real Optima, it's pretend Optima. And anyone who's been in training class anytime recently knows about these cases. So I'm going to demonstrate putting in your court case. So blue, if we all remember the blue case from training class, I'll use that one. So I've pulled it up, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where I have my contact logs. As you normally would, you press add. So this is specifically for a visit to the courtroom. That's what the request was here. So if today's the date that I visited court, that would be your date. Your activity type is going to be that you attended a court hearing. Okay, subject, you know, maybe what you're putting in is talked to foster parents at court hearing, whatever you want. The contact type might be face-to-face because you're right there talking to folks. When it comes to your hours, include your drive time as well as how much time you're spending out in the lobby, talking with people, and the time that you spend in court. So maybe you're there for 2.25 hours. Your mileage is going to be how far from home to the courthouse. I know we don't reimburse mileage, but we do track it so that we have statewide statistics on all of this material. So maybe round trip for you is 32 miles. And then in your notes section, you're going to put, you know, I talked to the foster parent and this is what we talked about, attended the court, and this is what I learned. Not necessarily your hearing notes per se, but something similar, whatever is helpful for you to be able to put in there and say that you attended. In this example, one trainee is the CASA. So that's the CASA that I'm putting there. Maybe you talked to the foster parent in the waiting room, you know, anybody else that you might have talked to, you can put your GALs. Things like that that might help you. If you talk to someone that wasn't even listed there, maybe there was an uncle, you know, who was there that you talked to for some reason. You can record all of that information here, and then you create it, and it will come up as pending for the advocate manager to then approve for you at a future time. Okay. Hopefully that helps. Any things that become specific about your case, you can talk to your advocate manager about it and they'll help you figure it out. Any other questions? Yes, Bob.
I thought I remembered from class that we always checked, even if you don't talk to the kid, that you always click the kid box too.
I just forgot that, didn't I? Thanks for remembering that.
I just been doing it. I want to make sure I was doing it right.
Absolutely. You're doing it right, Bob.
All right.
Yes, Barb. Why don't you unmute yourself first, Barb?
Does that mean that when I make a phone call to the foster mother, but don't talk to the child, I still mark the child?
You do, because it's always about the child.
I haven't been doing it.
That's all right. Thank you. Now you can start doing it. More than likely your advocate manager's been adding a little click. Yes, Sai.
The way we enter the court report in person, does the same thing apply to Zoom court, because Lake is still doing Zoom court?
Yes. You guys will still do the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Who's excited to return to court? Thumbs up. All right. Who's glad it's optional and they don't have to come? All right. I am not receiving any other questions. So going once, going twice. All right. Well, we're very excited to welcome everyone back and have you with us. Thank you for participating in the Lunch and Learn. Don't forget to give yourself some CE credit. Give yourself a half hour for attending a juvenile court session. If you do log on and watch the information about the reporting, that too is worth CE credit. Please do give yourself credit for doing the work that needs to be done to make fantastic CASAs, because each and every one of you are phenomenal. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.